What if your next chapter doesn't start when you quit your job? What if it starts long before that? Most women think reinvention has to be dramatic, a new career, a new business, a major life change. But real reinvention usually happens much more quietly. It happens when you start making room for something that belongs to you. Before you realize it, you're no longer thinking about your next chapter. You're actually living it. Today, we're talking about what reinvention actually looks like in midlife and why your second act may have already started. Welcome to Second Act Simplified. This podcast is for busy women in midlife who are balancing a career, a family life, but also want something of their own, and that might be a side hustle, hobby, or passion project. Join me as we make that happen together. Today is week 8 of the Second Act Starter series, and it's the final episode in the series. Before we talk about reinvention, let's take a quick look at where we were. We started out in week 1. We talked about feeling stuck and how that often is the sign that you're really just ready for growth. Week 2, we tackled the time problem and learned that building something new doesn't require endless free hours. It requires being intentional with your time. In week 3, we simplified the process and stopped making everything harder than it needs to be. Week 4, we talked about confidence and why confidence comes after the action, not before it. Week 5, we built a simple routine that could fit alongside a full life. Week 6, we talked about validating our ideas before you invest too much time, money, or energy. In week 7, we talked about consistency and why success isn't about never missing. It's about coming back after a miss. If you've been following all along, you've already done something really important. You've stopped waiting, and that's where reinvention really begins anyway. When we hear the word reinvention, we often imagine a complete transformation, like this blissful experience. Someone quits their job, they move across the country, they start a new business, everything changes. But most women in midlife can't reinvent themselves like that. Many of us have responsibilities. We already have careers, families, mortgages. People are depending on us. We don't have the luxury of just disappearing for 6 months to find ourselves and figure it all out. Real reinvention for most of us is going to happen alongside our real life. It's built 1 hour at a time, one experiment at a time, a decision at a time. You may want to consider something. If you've spent the last 7 weeks exploring an idea, creating some time, building a routine, testing some possibilities, and showing up consistently, you're already doing something different. You may not feel different yet, but your identity is in motion and it's already shifting. You're no longer just the employee. You might be a creator or a writer, a future business owner, a gardener, a photographer, a podcaster, an artist, whatever path you're exploring. The moment you start doing that thing that you picked out, even if it's imperfect, you begin becoming the new person that you were looking to be. I think one of the biggest mistakes women make is believing that they need certainty before they begin. And clarity rarely comes first. We talked about that. Clarity comes from movement, and your second act isn't something you discover. It's something that you build one step at a time, just like you teach your kids, one step at a time, over and over. Build that momentum. The goal is to stay curious long enough and discover what really fits. I've seen in the last 2 years, what I thought I was going to focus on has already evolved. And that's great. I'm okay with that. Sometimes your second act might start out as a business. It might just be some extra income. It might be a hobby that you love. Maybe you're building a community. Maybe it's something that's become part of yourself that you've neglected for years. All of those outcomes are important and they count. So as this series comes to a close, I want you to stop asking, what should I do for the rest of my life? And start asking, what is my next small step? And maybe it's publishing that first blog post, starting a newsletter, opening an Etsy shop, taking a class, creating a business Pinterest account, recording a podcast episode, writing for 15 minutes each week. This specific step matters less than actually taking the step because you build momentum through doing, not planning it, not research, not waiting, but actually doing. The goal of this series was never to help you figure everything out. It was to help you get started because once you start, the shift happens and it's really powerful and it's wonderful. You begin seeing yourself differently. You feel more confident. You feel brave. You might start meeting new people. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to overhaul your whole life. You don't need a 5-year plan. You just need a willingness to take that next step. Your second act doesn't begin someday. It begins the moment you decide that your dreams deserve space in your life too. If you've made it these 8 weeks, I think you've already started that. If you'd like help figuring out your next step, download my free Second Act Pathfinder. It's designed specifically for busy women who want more clarity around a side hustle, passion project, a career pivot, or simply creating a life that feels more like your own. You'll find everything you need in the show notes. If you've enjoyed this series, I'd love for you to follow the podcast and share it with a friend who might be ready for her own second act. Until next time, remember, the goal isn't to figure everything out, it's to help you start. Thanks.